How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. We got a lot to talk about here on the show today, as last night was the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And boy, do we have a lot of news coming out of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. We have a new Money in the Bank men's title holder, I guess you can call it. The man holding the briefcase, of all people, the returning Brock Lesnar. In a return that was kept secret from everybody. Everybody in the Money in the Bank match knew that Ali was going to be at the top of the ladder, and something was going to happen, and the ladder was going to be tipped over, but nobody was told what was going to happen. There were people that believed that Ali was going to win, and he did not win. Instead, Lesnar came out. Just a rampage this guy went on, and he destroyed everybody, and he threw ladders all over, and he busted open Ali with a ladder, and he busted open some camera people at ringside with ladders, and it was just a violent rampage, and he left with the briefcase, and tonight, he will be on Monday Night Raw. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match won by Bayley, in one of the scenarios I talked about on yesterday's Wrestling Observer Live. In fact, Charlotte beat Becky, and then Bayley, the title holder, cashed in on Charlotte and won the title. So Charlotte won, but did not leave as the women's champion of SmackDown. And so what this means right now is, as I talked about yesterday, because Becky Lynch is officially a SmackDown talent, she lost the SmackDown title, but still holds the Raw title, so she can still go from show to show without counting as one of the 4 individuals in the weekly wildcard rule deal, even though the rules are whatever they want the rules to be at any given time, and there's not necessarily any rhyme or reason to whatever they do. So that's the big stories on the show, and we could talk about those, a bunch of other news, a Ric Flair update, and so much more, and we will kick it off after the break. Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Lots to talk about here in the show today. Obviously, the pay-per-view last night is in the books, and a lot happened on the show. The show, I thought, overall was a very good show. I thought the women's Money in the Bank match was way better than I expected. I thought that the Bayley cash-in was excellent. Joe versus Ray got cut short due to an injury. I thought the Shane McMahon versus Miz steel cage match was just horrible for a lot of reasons. Arya Daivari and Tony Nese was put in a position to fail, and in fact, to the crowd, it did fail. And the match itself was only okay on top of that. Becky Lynch, Lacey Evans. For half of the match, I was wrong. For the other half of the match, I was right. First 4 minutes, Lacey was totally fine in there, and she did a good job. Second 3 minutes, this match absolutely fell off a cliff and was terrible. And then Charlotte Becky was good while it lasted. They only got 6 minutes, and then they did a goofy finish to try to fool you, and instead, in my opinion, it made Lacey and Becky look weak. Charlotte won the belt, and then Bayley cashed in on Charlotte after Charlotte ran into a corner and was knocked unconscious, and Bayley pinned an unconscious Charlotte with a flying elbow and won the title, which was fantastic. Place went absolutely crazy for her. They did the big celebration. She went into the crowd. They chanted her name. It was great. AJ Seth Rollins was way better than I expected. I thought it was going to be very good, but it was better than that. They actually delivered what you would think they would deliver, as opposed to many times where, for example, AJ faced Nakamura, and you expected them to deliver something, and they didn't. So this was great. The Lars Sullivan deal was what it was, but there was fortuitous blood, which actually made it even better. Kevin Owens, Kofi Kingston was fine. It was a SmackDown main event match, not really a pay-per-view caliber match. Crowd didn't care until the finish when they popped big for Kofi winning. And then the men's Money in the Bank, I mean, they killed each other. I hate when people kill each other in matches like this, especially a guy like Finn Balor who's not even winning and benefits zero from killing himself, and he really killed himself. But it was an excellent match. They did the surprise finish with Brock Lesnar. Some people really liked it. A lot of people hated it. But the match itself was very, very good. So overall, I give the show a thumbs up, and we'll see how they follow it up on Raw tonight.
Yeah, not sure how much I can really add to that, because I echo most of it. When it comes to Charlotte and the defeat of Becky Lynch. I know what you're saying. The idea was good. The execution was awful. Where I think they have gotten themselves out of it, or will get themselves out of it, is history is going to dictate that Bayley obviously was the ultimate winner of all of that, so they will kind of scramble that a little bit, and what they need is both Becky and Lacey Evans to be strong. Number one, I think it's time to give Lacey Evans a different finishing move. Ron Garvin was able to get away with doing the man with the hands of stone gimmick because he just chopped people to death. So, yes, there was that whole thing where he would throw punches in the corner and things like that, and you had to use your wrestling brain to kind of chuck away the fact that if he always knocks the guy out with one punch, why isn't he doing it there? But that's neither here nor there. With Lacey Evans, I think it's time to give her a little bit of a different move so you can take that aspect kind of away from her. And as botched as everything was towards the end, I know how Becky and how they can spin this, which is I was Becky 2 belts. I was one woman with 2 belts, whereas it took 2 women to take 1 belt away from me. And Charlotte, I'm not done with you yet, but Lacey, I'm going to kill you. Or however they decide to play this, I think they can kind of weasel themselves out of it. But yeah, it wasn't good in the execution.
So, got to talk about Ric Flair, then we can go back to Money in the Bank, because the Ric Flair story is really the big story here today. Due to health issues regarding heart surgery that was scheduled to take place today, Ric Flair will not be able to appear in Las Vegas this weekend for Starrcast. Flair was going to appear on a panel discussion with Ricky Steamboat, talking about their legendary series of matches dating back to the Carolinas in the late 70s. And because they were nationally broadcast, their most famous series outside the Carolinas took place in 1989. There was also going to be a Flair celebrity roast at Caesars Palace. TMZ reported that Flair would not be healthy enough to go to Las Vegas on Friday. Those close to Flair confirmed that situation to us. Flair was said to be in good spirits going into surgery and talking with people on the phone. He was scheduled for surgery last week, but health complications led to him having to be treated early, and surgery is postponed until today. It sounds like Ric Flair is in surgery right now, so we can only hope for the best for Ric Flair. Hopefully he comes out of this great. The report prior to the surgery being postponed was that he was expected to make a full recovery, but of course it is surgery. He is 70 years old, so once again, we can only hope for the best for Ric Flair, but not going to be at Starrcast on Friday, which he was very much looking forward to.
That trilogy is some of the best, if not the best of all time, and you'll have the old heads that'll tell you what they did in 77, 78, 79 was even better than what they did in 89. But I always have to kind of go back and forth. It's wrestling. There's a lot of matches, so you can kind of vacillate and be safe. But the Clash of the Champions match, I think, is one of the best it definitely is one of the best matches I've ever seen. Probably my favorite one of Flair and Steamboat. It really was. That draw coming out of that, I thought was really awesome. And all the other matches are good, too. They had another one that year that you can find online at the Capitol Center in 1989 as well, too, that I believe Dave rated higher than any of the other ones, and they were 5-star matches. And Flair Steamboat, the stuff from TV where Flair rubbed Steamboat's face into the concrete and Steamboat retaliated later on by stripping Flair down to his underwear, and all that famous TV is up there too. It is epic stuff, and a lot of the concentration of what was happening in Starrcast was based upon the roast, but really the biggest loss is being able to hear Flair and Steamboat, and they've done it before, but any chance you have to hear them talk about those matches, I mean, absolutely amazing, with angles that stemmed out of it that will be repeated forever.
All right, so we're going to go to the phones here. If you want to give us a call, talk about any of these topics. You can talk about Ric Flair. You can talk about Money in the Bank. We got some other news we can get into later on. 844-411-5411 is the phone number, toll free. 844-411-5411. Text messages, 425-780-7566. Sometimes I forget to give these numbers out, but if I do, they're always available on the front page of WrestlingObserver.com. To the phones, you are on the air. What is going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Mike. It's Edward from California. Basically, to kind of parrot what you guys said, Money in the Bank was cool. AJ and Rollins was dope. Ladder match was sick. One point I want to make, and then I do actually have a question for you guys. I was happy, Brian, for the sake of your sanity, that Bayley walked out of there with that SmackDown women's belt. I was was rooting for you on that.
Dude, I was just not going to go to text messages today. I was just going to ignore every single one of them if Charlotte would have left with that belt. I can't take it today. I got enough that's infuriating me.
Yeah, no, dude, nobody would have blamed you. But my question comes from relating to the Roman Reigns match. So, as we know, Elias cracked him in the back, but then Reigns comes out, spears him and wins in like less than a minute. And I was watching with a buddy, and he's like, and we were joking like, oh, someone was watching their Goldberg tapes. But then I had a thought. Do you think Reigns could actually almost benefit from having that kind of Goldberg e-booking? I mean, I know he's not as jacked, and he's probably less intense, but he's overall, in my opinion, a better athlete. So in your guys' opinion, do you think, some of that short, sweet, but hard-hitting booking is what Reigns needs to help get him back over with folks?
All I know is a couple of things. I want to thank you very much for the call. Number one, Goldberg on a streak worked in WCW when nothing else was working. That's number one. Number two, everyone's most hated wrestler, Baron Corbin, when he was in NXT and he was doing the streak where he'd win every match in under 30 seconds, that was working with Baron Corbin. Like, I've seen streaks not work. For example, Crimson and TNA, they tried to do the Goldberg thing and it totally didn't work. But I fail to see how Roman Reigns, and granted, the thing with Goldberg was he squashed like a lot of jobbers for a long time, and then he squashed like a lot of low-card guys. He didn't come out there like week one and squash all of the stars. Like, you can't have Roman come out and just run through all the stars because they will turn on him. But like, if he squashed some jobbers, and then he came back and squashed some mid-card, lower mid-card guys, or Zack Ryders, even though they're the tag team champions. But anyway, if he did all that, you could get it over. But there's a way you have to start it. I can talk about this after the break. Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. This person here says, sunset flip powerbomb on the ladder. Wow. Wow is right. And actually, if you make a list of stupid things that Finn Balor did, honest to God, that's at the bottom of the list. Like the one where the ladder fell over and it was on its side, like with the rungs facing the side and the metal side that supports it pointing straight up in the air, and him getting choke slammed by Baron Corbin onto that. Like, what are you thinking, dude? You're not the champion. It's not Mania. You're not getting anything out of this, except maybe like the respect of the fans and your fellow competitors. But I love Finn Balor. Dude's 37, 38 years old. He's not a young guy. He wrestled for years in New Japan. He's got a lot of miles on his body. There is absolutely no reason to take a choke slam onto a ladder that's laying sideways. That's insane. And he did 3 of them last night. He took a vertical suplex onto a ladder, too. It was crazy. It was laying down. Not even a bridge where it bounces. It was nuts.
I can do without the Money in the Bank ladder match. Except for, I don't know. The whole concept, I'm kind of happy that Brock has the briefcase because, people are going to rage about that, but don't you want the Money in the Bank briefcase to go away? I mean, to me, it's a clunky thing that gets in the way. I only usually like it when there's somebody else who can carry it around, and in Brock's case, he does. He's got that with Paul anyway. But, it's going to disappear for a while because Brock's not going to be there every week, and I'm fine with that. Let it go away for a while. Bayley already cashed hers in. Good, gone. Great. These ladder matches, and I understand, they are stunt shows. They are what they are. They're not built to be a match that you are building ladder spots around. It's ladder spots that you're building some other stuff around, but they are so reliant. Even the women's match that was not as brutal as the men's, but boy, everything just involved the ladder. Somebody being whipped in the ladder, somebody bouncing off the ladder. There's 88 ladders around now. It's crazy. It's turned into a ladders match, not just a Money in the Bank ladder match where you're supposed to crawl up and hit the briefcase. There's got to be a way to kind of tweak this because these are getting out of hand, and you're gonna get, it's not gonna be a broken neck or something like that. You're gonna get like the gruesome injury in front front of everybody that makes like somebody in the crowd on TV like throw up, where it's like going to have a body part bent back or a gash so large or something like that. And I cringe thinking about it. And it is, for as amazing as it was, I don't know what, again, like you said, what does this really do for Finn Balor? I mean, one of those bumps would have been fine. You didn't see Randy Orton taking 87 of those things in that match, and there's a reason for that. It's begun to be, and in fact is already probably too much.
This person here says, Brock winning is the best decision Vince has made in a while. Such a smart move to upset the smart marks. Nobody outside of Corbin and Orton in that match could draw a dime. Corbin ain't drawing a dime, dude. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Why be?
And controversy does not always create cash.
Well, but the crux of if your argument is you pissed off the smart marks, how great that is, it's stupid. It's Brock Lesnar. He's a massive, big, great star. So if you want to look at it that way, fine. Who it pissed off? It's actually a stupid way to look at it.
Oh God, I'm not going to spend forever. If you want, you can read Death at WCW, or you can listen to the audiobook Death at WCW. All available on Amazon.com. My look at the rise and fall of World Championship Wrestling, but the number one example that people use in controversy creates cash is David Arquette winning the WCW title, and how it made, I don't know if it made the front page, but it was all over USA Today, and WCW was so proud to get press in USA Today. Go back.
The paper they owned.
Go back and look at the numbers in the wake of David Arquette winning that championship. It was a disaster. It created no cash. In fact, it did the exact opposite. They lost viewers. They lost pay-per-view buyers. The pay-per-view numbers for the show where he was defending the title were like absolute rock bottom. I mean, this was an absolute disaster. Controversy sometimes creates cash. Controversy does not always create cash. The last Saudi Arabia show, the one from whatever it was, October or November this year, massively controversial. You know how much cash that created? It created 45,000 people quitting the WWE Network. That is not creating cash. That's 45,000 times $10 a month. That's a $450,000 hit for 1 month. And if those people never came back, that's $450,000 every month they're not getting now. So, yes, sometimes controversy creates cash, not always. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
I sort of liked Money in the Bank last night. Bailey going over, that was great. The AJ versus Rollins match was awesome. Lesnar winning wasn't a bad idea, but it was certainly a missed opportunity. Now with Lesnar winning that, though, a lot of people thinking he's going to win the Universal title with it. But I really think it's going to be the WWE title that we will have for the SmackDown debut on Fox in the fall, and then they'll have Roman take it off him on the Fox debut, maybe.
Well, one thing I got to say about Brock holding the briefcase, I want to thank you very much for the call, is him not being around. Like, it's not the end of the world if he's not around and he holds that briefcase. I mean, the whole idea behind Money in the Bank, they don't do this every time, but they do this a lot, is they push the Money in the Bank title holder so that you think that they're going to cash in at any time. And then sometimes they'll take them off TV for a while. And so you forget about it. And then when the cash-in happens, it's like this big surprise. So Brock rarely being there, like if you like the surprise aspect of Money in the Bank, I mean, that's a great thing. You're going to forget about Brock. You're going to forget about the briefcase. It'll be in the back of your mind. You're not going to forget who won it. But you're going to be thinking about other things because he's not going to be on the show a ton. And then someday he's going to cash in. It's going to be a big deal. Now watch him cash in tonight, and I'm just wrong about all of this. But I presume... I mean, yeah, it could be a cash-in on the very first SmackDown on Fox. It could be a cash-in in Saudi Arabia. I mean, if they want to get ratings for Fox, I mean, he can do the John Cena thing and go, dude, I'm cashing in this thing on the first SmackDown on Fox. That's the day it's going to happen, so be there. There's a lot of ways you could do it.
That's what I would kind of do in that situation. I would, use it to build up something. It matters if he has it. When Paul talks, it means something. When Brock goes out there, it means something. So if you want that briefcase to mean something and have it, impact a show that's coming up, save it for later on. You don't need it to make a title match in Saudi Arabia with he and Seth Rollins. And I hope that's not what this is about, because it's kind of a waste then to me.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, this is Christopher from Connecticut, and I just wanted to talk about my experience going to Money in the Bank Live last night.
Yes, go for it.
So first of all, the one thing I wanted to say was the Brock thing, or the pops for Bayley when she won the Money in the Bank and when she won the championship. Those were definitely that was the loudest the crowd got. I don't know if that's how it came across on TV. And personally, I had kind of given up on Bayley, and I guess she would be my third favorite for that match after Nikki and Ember. But as a member of the crowd, I was completely into it at the end of the ladder match and then going into her cashing in. And the Brock thing, I thought was really interesting that people are so upset about it, because the one thing you see a lot of people saying is oh, it's Money in the Bank should be elevating someone and that it shouldn't be going on someone who can get a title match anyway. And it's a work so anybody can get a title match. They just have to give them a reason to get a title match. And also I think having, at least once in a while, having the Money in the Bank on someone who's not using it as a crutch to get a cheap win is a lot more valuable. And I think again, people you guys were saying, having that surprise factor. And so I loved it when Brock came out. And Mustafa Ali actually didn't come off as much of a geek watching it live, because I know I saw the
you're distracted by seeing Brock.
Yeah, but then the camera angle was just focusing on Mustafa Ali for 30 seconds, and that made him look way worse on TV.
Yes, if he would have been climbing, I want to thank you very much for the call. If he had been climbing and he's right up there and they hit the music and the camera goes to Brock and stays on him, then fine, you're distracted. You forget what happened a moment ago. But the music hits and they're just focusing on Ali and he's just frozen there. Frozen watching this guy all the way up. And somebody texted me last night and they said their 6-year-old goes, why don't you just grab the box? And it's 6-year-olds figure that out. So whoever was in charge of leaving the camera on that guy for that long, I mean, they did nobody any favors. There was a lot of stuff last night that did nobody any favors.
And they already did it with more effect that worked great, with a great visual in the women's match when Bayley shot up the ladder, put the two, in Mandy and Sonya into shock, and she pushed them off. So it was kind of already done, which is another problem WWE has, where they repeat a lot of things, whether it's moves in matches or finishes and schoolboys and things like that. They have this issue with that.
All right, we're going to head to a break in just a moment. If you want to give us a call, 844-411-5411. Text messages, 425-780-7566. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Got so many people calling, texting, the whole 9 yards. This person here, Hamish. Miz last night looked like the biggest babyface geek in recent history. And in Vinny's famous, dreadful words, this feud must continue. Yeah, WrestleMania, he suplexed a guy off a platform. Apparently nearly killed him, but because he suplexed the guy, his shoulders were below the other guy's, and so the other guy won. And then this time, they're fighting on top of the cage, and Shane goes to climb over, and Miz grabs his shirt, and Shane falls out of the shirt and ends up winning. I mean, yeah, absolute total geek. Doing nothing to help this poor guy. After he turns babyface, by the way. I mean, in WWE, honest to God, you are better off being a heel than a babyface. Because if you're a babyface, something stupid's going to happen to you inevitably. And if you're a heel, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win because they love to get heat. So, there you go.
I've been entertained, obviously, far more than you by Shane McMahon and The Miz throughout this whole time. And, yeah, I thought it was kind of corny what they did at WrestleMania, and Shane won, and it must continue. And I thought it was going to end here, and it doesn't look like it's going to. And I would have been ready if you told me before this that they're going to go 3 matches and Shane was going to win this. I would have begrudgingly given it to you, but how it ended up coming off, I don't want to see it anymore. And I don't know how they're going to save this. I don't know. I mean, I know Shane is running dual feuds right now, still with Roman Reigns and also with The Miz. I don't know. I don't know how this whole thing is going to actually end up, but I'm surprised that they're going to continue going with it. I thought just having this with The Miz coming out of it, heroically, slamming Shane's head in the door or whatever their equivalent would have been, and him walking away would have been more than sufficient, but we'll see what happens.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What is going on?
How you boys doing? Sitting Duck here on Vancouver Island.
Yes, Sitting Duck.
Calling to talk about the Money in the Bank there.
All right.
Mainly to talk about Brock Lesnar in specifically. See, now I was looking on the internet, seeing what other people thought of the results, see what other people thought of Brock coming back, and I've honestly never seen a more effective heel in the last 15, 20 years than Brock Lesnar. It's actually refreshing. I love to see it when it comes to getting the fans to boo him when the whole gimmick, he doesn't want to be there and all this. Top to bottom, I think he's the most effective heel in the whole business right now, and I want to know what you guys think.
Well, I want to thank you very much for the call. Here's the thing with Brock. And it applies to Vince McMahon, too. Vince McMahon, I mean, I've rallied around Triple H replacing him or having him go to work for the XFL full-time and leaving the wrestling to somebody else. But fact of the matter is, I don't think he needs to be in the position he's in, but he still can be very clever. Every attempt he had to get Roman Reigns cheered was actually very, very clever. It just never worked. He has ideas. He understands still how to manipulate the fans in a lot of different ways. He doesn't understand how to book week to week because he just changes his mind every week, but he still understands human psychology. And he very clearly understands that right now we are in an era where the remaining WWE fans are very much a you deserve it crowd. And so after the Daniel Bryan thing, I mean, yes, there's one Daniel Bryan. He knows exactly one way to book, and that is to try to make all baby faces Daniel Bryan. This is what got Becky over. This is what got Kofi over. The whole you deserve it thing. Becky deserved it, according to these fans. Kofi deserved it after 11 years. That's the storyline. They deserved it. And so what you have with Brock Lesnar is a guy that the fans don't believe deserves it. He doesn't deserve it. And I don't know how he did it in 2019 and 2018. I mean, it's actually, I got to give the guy a lot of credit. He has convinced people that should know better that Brock doesn't deserve it. He doesn't want to come to work. He avoids going to shows. He no-shows events. I heard it again last night. I heard it from people going, I can't believe they put the briefcase on a guy that doesn't want to come to work. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter how many times I explain this. I still hear it from people contacting me. It's mind-blowing to me. So that's the Brock Lesnar heel persona, a guy that doesn't deserve it. And when he gets stuff, it makes people furious.
Things feel real around Brock because he's got an air of credibility. He's got an air of mystery to him. There's those old school things that are still there. That Paul exploits, that they exploit when it comes to the promotion of Brock Lesnar, the presentation of Brock Lesnar. That's why it happens. It's because there's credibility to it, and it makes people blur the line. Where a lot of this stemmed from is when, you and Dave, and it's not talking about you and Dave, I'm talking about this, when it would be talked about at the time of Brock doesn't care really what he's doing. He's fielding offers. He's playing the field between the UFC and WWE, and what that became blurred and blended was with what WWE was doing as far as Brock doesn't show up, with the actual storyline part of things. And that stuff has just kind of melded together. And I think when people talk about it, with the people that get upset about it, they end up blending the two. And it's nothing to be upset about. You're being worked and being, the good psychology being done by Brock Lesnar and by WWE and Paul Heyman and everybody who's involved in keeping Brock Lesnar's name in the mix. They've done a masterful job at it. Now, you can say they've gone to the well too many times with it. You can say, I just don't like Brock Lesnar, whatever it is. But, it's hard to be too upset over this decision and keeping Brock in the mix, especially now because I don't know how anybody can be too upset about this when obviously the UFC would still take Brock back. But it's been really clear that he's not going to be there for a while. They're looking at Cormier and Stipe again. So, that pipe dream is kind of over. So he's involved in wrestling now. And for people to still be that upset about it as if he had something else better to do. Unless somebody's going to pay him this kind of money to read Field and Stream or to go shoot things, Brock will do this until he can't anymore. Again, the fighting era, I think, is over. This is going to be the only Brock you see.
All right, let's go to the phones. You are on the air. What is going on?
This is Jim from Virginia. How y'all doing today?
Yes, my friend, yes.
Talk about Bayley winning the Money in the Bank for the women. I thought it was great myself. You just go back through all the junk that they've put her through over the years she's been in the WWE main roster when she's over Raw and SmackDown and everything. She definitely deserved that briefcase last night and title.
I agree with that. I thought it was great. I thought, well, go on.
You go ahead. I will tell you another thing too. I actually had a guy tell me on Facebook today. He said he couldn't see why Lacey Evans didn't beat Becky and take the title from her.
God, she didn't. No
I wrote
offense
down,
to
I
her,
said,
but...
she's too green.
Yes.
Did you hear her have to yell out the spots to her?
Yes, the thing fell apart.
And then look at Becky, and she looked like she just couldn't believe they said Charlotte at the time she did. If she didn't want to defend the two belts that night, she ought not have done it.
That's right. She shouldn't have complained.
To do it.
She's the one that wanted to do that, so she shouldn't have complained about it. Hey, Jim, I want to thank you very much for the call. We got a million things we got to get into, and I got to get into another one here because I was talking about Brock Lesnar, and during a couple of those calls, I was sort of doing a little bit of research here. So I've gotten a lot of text messages today from people very upset. You'll never guess about Charlotte, and they all say the same thing. The person says, this is Charlotte's third artificial title reign to run the number up. They gave her an additional reign for the same time at WrestleMania 32. The Asuka win lasted 2 weeks. Now this, they aren't even subtle about it. You're right. Let me tell you something about WWE, okay? Do you remember the first ever undisputed world champion in WWE history? And granted, it was not the first one in wrestling history. They were making something up, but you remember who that was?
It was Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho. Do you want to know who had the most Royal Rumble appearances? Kane.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Also the most eliminations. Who's had the most WrestleMania matches?
Shawn Michaels.
Undertaker.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Who's won the most Royal Rumbles?
Ooh, Steve Austin?
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah. Longest women's championship reign?
It was AJ, but she got eclipsed.
Fabulous Moolah.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Longest of the modern era?
Oh.
Nikki Bella.
It was Nikki after AJ Lee because they had to replace
Longest
AJ.
WWE title reign?
Bruno.
Longest of the modern era?
Ooh,
I think that one got switched, so who cares? But anyway,
it was CM Punk. Then they had to replace that, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Most world titles ever won.
Flair, I guess.
Tied with Flair and John Cena. Shortest time in the Rumble. Santino. Anyone notice anything here? By the way,
they like records and like breaking them.
It's always different people. Because what WWE does is they brand things. Yeah. And they want to merchandise things, and they want to sell things. And so a lot of what they do is built around, well, how can we brand this person? How can we brand the New Day? They were the longest reigning Raw Tag Team Champions or whatever, and they're probably going to win the SmackDown Tag titles more times. The Usos, I believe, have the record now. I'm not even sure. But the point is, everybody's different because they want something for everybody. Who's the person that beat Ronda Rousey? Becky Lynch. Who's the first woman to main event WrestleMania? Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte. Okay? So at the end of the day, they want Charlotte to hold the women's title 16 times. Okay? Why? Because they want to brand her as a 16-time women's champion, just like they branded Ric Flair the same way. This is not about, does she deserve it, okay? The story that they want to tell, forget who deserves it, who's a heart, whatever, forget it. The story they want to tell is Ric Flair and his daughter both were 16-time champions in a made-up sport. That's it. Yeah, you could say, well, my favorite is Asuka. I want her to be a 16-time champion. That's not the story they want to tell with Asuka. She's not Ric Flair's daughter. That's all this is about. Yes, of course they're running up the number. That's how they want to brand Charlotte Flair. She is a 16-time WWE Women's Champion. That's it. Like, it's not about who deserves it. It's not about whatever. They're going to try with everybody that is loyal to the company and has been there for a long time. They're going to give everybody something special, even if it's something ridiculous. Like, I mean, for crying out loud, some of the records that they had. I mean, for a while there, before Charlotte had a bunch of numbers, it was like, she's the only woman never defeated on pay-per-view. But she loses on TV all the time. It's like, yes. That was a record they came up with for her at the time. Now they've got a better one. So it's just what they do. It's not the end of the world. It's because of course it's because she's Flair's daughter. That's the story they want to tell. They don't want to tell the story that Ric Flair is a 16-time champion, and guess what? Someone who has no relation to him of any sort, Becky Lynch, also is a 16-time champion. That's not the story they want to tell for branding purposes. That's it. That's the story.
They like creating history. It was like when Randy Orton became the youngest heavyweight champion.
There's another one.
They wanted to
That's
replace
Randy's
The Rock.
deal.
Yeah, The Rock being the youngest heavyweight champion. They wanted to make sure to wipe out, AJ Lee's record, so have Nikki hold it the whole time. It's just, whereas other places kind of like you create history, I mean, as part of the voyage, like WWE, that's what they like to do. They just like creating moments. That's making smiles, putting smiles on people's faces. That's WWE.
I mean, for crying out loud, that was Kurt Hawkins' calling card. The thing that defined him was a losing streak. Like the longest losing streak in WWE history or whatever.
Barry Horowitz style.
Exactly. And Barry Horowitz eventually won too. But I mean, the point is,
Jack Hart.
They want to brand everybody with something. And everyone's got something different. And hers happens to be the most fake titles in a made-up sport. That's it.
Because her dad had that title of the fake titles of made-up sport.
Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. This is 1,000%. Do you hear me, everybody? 1,000% speculation. So please do not report this on the internet and attribute it to me. So there's a new title tonight for WWE, and Mick Foley is unveiling it. And last night, when the graphic appeared on the screen, there were a few people in WWE that were asking around, and nobody knew. Or they were sworn to secrecy. But my guess is that nobody actually knew. It is WWE. Vince could have come up with the idea yesterday and made a graphic. So nobody seemed to know what it was last night. Now, there have been many instances, not every instance, but there have been many instances where word gets out that a new belt or belts are being made for WWE. We hear about, they're making new tag team titles, or they're going to make this belt, or sometimes even a picture comes out. There's been nothing for whatever this new belt is here tonight. So my speculation, I could very well be wrong. My speculation is it's going to be the hardcore title because Mick Foley is announcing it. And they may very well just be using the old, bashed up Winged Eagle belt. And that'll be the title that is used, or the belt that is used for this new title. Hence, no new belt being created. So that is my speculation. We're going to find out later on tonight, unless, as has happened many times, they announce something and then they just don't do it. So we'll find out soon enough.
I tell you what, the Winged Eagle never looked better than when it was getting beaten on with a hammer.
Oh, get out of here, Mike.
Smashed
You're
up
such a
against the
troll.
ring post.
You're as bad as Dave, trolling me
dirt
here.
Worst.
Come on. Get out of here. We're out of time, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more. All sorts of stuff to talk about. No shortage of news to talk about. So, that's the plan. I want to thank Mike as always, except for that last quip. All the callers and listeners, everybody in the studio. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.
You got